I'm pretty sure everyone knows the original story of Snow White. How, she lives in a house with dwarves, and at some point she takes a poisoned apple, and everyone thinks she died. She's in a coffin. But apparently, this prince that's into necrophilia sees this woman, and he just wants to kiss a corpse. Like he just goes over there and gives her a big smooch without her consent, and apparently she wakes up and they live happily ever after. Now, what I just described is complete mental retardation. Okay, like only a person that's either disingenuous, wants to start up shit, or an absolute moron would analyze the story in this manner. But unfortunately, in the United States of America, you have the woke ideology, which has poisoned Disney. And they look at fiction, not analyzing it like, well, it's just a cartoon, well, it's just a story. No, like, they actually impress real life morality on this whole thing. And so, like, they would conclude that if they allowed the story to be told the way it was, it actually encourages rape culture. Like, it actually destroys society if we don't treat the story, the fictional characters, with the utmost seriosity possible. And so we know that this is the case because first of all, like, we have seen other live adaptations in the past. The one that I think is the worst has to be Pinocchio. In Pinocchio, the new live adaptation is all about trans issues. Because the idea is that it doesn't matter if Pinocchio is a real boy or not. What matters is the way he feels. And they suddenly changed a couple of elements to the point where, in the end, it's not even clear if Pinocchio actually becomes a boy. It's up for the interpretation because, again, what matters is in its heart. There are other things that are changed, like in the original, Pinocchio decides to skip school, and that's why he gets into trouble. So, like, the original story was about Pinocchio being a misbehaved kid, and because he is misbehaved, he ends up in trouble. While here, he is actually kicked out of school because he is a puppet, and puppets aren't allowed, trying to create this connection with trans issues. So, like, again, like, the way woke people are making stories is they bring reality into the story, right? And they treat the story as a Rorschach test as well. Like, if you don't like a story because Snow White is not Caucasian, or if you don't like Ariel because Ariel is black, then it's obviously because you're a racist. Like, the way you engage with the entertainment, the way you engage with the fiction tells you about what type of person you are. So basically, you can be a pillar of the community, you can be a positive example to society, you can donate to charity, you can have a stable job and a family. None of that matters if you interact with the entertainment in the wrong way, if you interact with fiction in the wrong way. So, like, fiction is not about escapism anymore. Is it about, doing unhinged stuff that you can't do in real life? Like, you're going and you're playing a first-person shooter and you're murdering people and you're doing trash talk and banter over the microphone. Like, no, that's actually, they view that as a criminal. Like, they view that as a dredge, a degenerate to society. Meanwhile, someone that actually goes in the real world and robs a store, like, they will come up with excuses for that person. Like, he's a victim of the system. He's just a young man that didn't know any better. Well, again, like, if you play video games the wrong way, or if you don't like Disney movies, then you're a piece of shit. And this is apparently the morality that comes from Disney nowadays. They simply fail to understand the difference between fact and fiction anymore. And they actually disabled one of their attractions at Disneyland regarding the prince giving a kiss to Snow White because the kiss lacked consent. I'm actually curious, like, what they would do about the original tales if they knew. A lot of people don't know that the original tales are actually very disturbing. You can find, like, some of them on Wikipedia. Like, for instance, in Red Riding Hood, the wolf actually rapes Red Riding Hood in the original old versions. The purpose of the story was to teach girls not to trust strangers. Like, that was the onus of the story. There is another one with Sleeping Beauty where a king finds the Sleeping Beauty and he has sex with her while she's asleep, and it's the pain of the childbirth that wakes her up. And so if these twats are so horrified by the fact that Snow White is getting a kiss without consent, how would they feel about the stories of our ancestors? Like, legitimately, these types of stories were actually told to kids in medieval time, in a period where there wasn't that much entertainment, and grandma telling stories by the fire was probably the peak of that day. But yeah, no, this is mentally unwell. I'm genuinely curious just how retarded people have become that they're tolerating this shit. Like, the inability to separate fact from fiction is something that most people are supposed to do when they're, 4 years old? Like, 4 years old, I knew that Pinocchio is a fairy tale. And everything that happens on the television, especially if it's in a cartoon, it's not real. Right? Like, the laws of physics that I see in Tom and Jerry do not apply to the laws of reality, for instance. But I don't know if these people are just, misingenuous. They just want to start up shit. They just want to hijack the entertainment for their thing. But, again, they're bringing, real-life moral and values into a story, and it makes no sense. This is why people don't like the new Disney's live adaptations, because they're corrupted, they're perverted. Rachel Ziegler comes up and she basically says that, yeah, this is not a story about true love. Don't expect the prince to give a kiss. It's like, why wouldn't I expect it? Why wouldn't I expect it? Oh, because it doesn't have consent. Who fucking cares? It's a fictional character. Why does it need consent? He's saving her life. It's viewed as a noble act. I mean, to be fair, the story itself doesn't really strike with a lot of modern morality. Like nothing makes sense, right? Because again, the prince is into necrophilia, right? Like he finds a dead woman in the forest next to 8 dwarves, and he goes and smooches her, and then she marries him. Like, what is the moral here? Well, the prince is actually the deus ex machina, right? Which has to give the story a happy ending. That's the whole purpose. But anyway, the other thing is the actress herself is incredibly unpopular. Like, all her opinions, everything that she stands for, all her ideology, no one likes that. The company itself has lost a lot of prestige because they decided to go against the Florida lawmakers by saying, no, Florida, you're passing laws that we don't like, so we as a company are now going to start doing activism against you. Well, okay, but why would any conservative that agrees with the situation in Florida buy tickets to see your movie? And then it's also the fact that it's a live action. People are sick and tired of live action adaptations. Some things look good in cartoons, and they look disgusting when you have real actors doing it. I mean, seeing Snow White talking to the birds and summoning the forest critters and shit, that looks good in cartoons. But if you're doing it with live action, it looks disgusting. It looks like... just do something else. The opposite is also true. There are certain things that probably look better if people do it, but it look awful if cartoons do it. Regardless the case, I'm not surprised that it's got 84,000 dislikes. And until American entertainment, especially Disney, starts understanding that fiction is fiction, and you should actually be able to go wild, and everything should go in fiction, they're going to keep reaching this predicament where they're sanitizing the cartoons to such an extent where it's not like going into a fictional place, it's just bringing real life issues into entertainment. And people want to use entertainment to get away from real life issues. Now, what I don't want you to get away from is the pinned comment in my comment section. Please check it out. And hopefully you guys, if you want to support the channel, will make me happy. If not, I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.